Lebanon, a small country in the Middle East, has a history as rich and complex as its famous cedar trees. From ancient Phoenician empires to modern-day political turmoil, Lebanon has seen it all. But beneath the surface of its vibrant culture and stunning landscapes lies a nation grappling with deep-seated issues. Years of sectarian conflict, political instability, and economic hardship have left Lebanon vulnerable. Its people, known for their resilience, have endured countless challenges. But the events of this week, a series of devastating explosions, have shaken the nation to its core. These explosions, occurring on Tuesday and Wednesday, have plunged Lebanon into further chaos and despair. The blasts, the causes of which remain shrouded in mystery, have resulted in widespread destruction, countless casualties, and a profound sense of uncertainty. As Lebanon grapples with the aftermath of these tragedies, it does so against the backdrop of a region already rife with tension and conflict. The explosions have not only shattered the fragile peace, but have also raised critical questions about the future of this troubled nation. No discussion about Lebanon is complete without addressing Hezbollah, a powerful political and military organization. Founded in the 1980s, Hezbollah emerged as a Shiite militia during the Lebanese civil war. Over the years, Hezbollah has transformed into a complex entity, operating as a political party, social welfare provider, and militant group. Its armed wing is considered one of the most powerful non-state military forces globally. Hezbollah's relationship with Israel is one of open hostility. The two have been locked in a bitter conflict for decades. Hezbollah's military capabilities and stance against Israel have made it a formidable force, but also a source of controversy. Tuesday began like any other day in Beirut, the bustling capital of Lebanon. But as the afternoon sun beat down on the city, a sense of normalcy gave way to sheer terror. A series of explosions originating from the port area ripped through the city, sending shockwaves that shattered windows, crumbled buildings, and left a trail of devastation in their wake. The explosions, later determined to have been caused by a massive cache of confiscated pager explosives stored improperly in a warehouse at the port, sent a mushroom cloud billowing into the sky, visible for miles around. The sound of the blasts reverberated across the city, leaving residents in a state of shock and disbelief. Panic gripped the streets as people fled the epicenter of the explosions, desperate to escape the carnage. The air filled with the acrid smell of smoke and the sound of sirens as emergency services rushed to the scene. Hospitals, already strained by the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, were quickly overwhelmed with casualties. The immediate aftermath of Tuesday's explosions was nothing short of chaotic. The port, a vital artery for Lebanon's economy, lay in ruins. Amidst the debris, first responders launched into frantic rescue efforts. Hospitals, overwhelmed by casualties, struggled to cope. As night fell, the true scale of the devastation became clear. Section 5, Wednesday's walkie-talkie explosions fueling the fire. As if the trauma of Tuesday's pager explosions wasn't enough, Lebanon was dealt another devastating blow on Wednesday. This time, a series of explosions rocked a Hezbollah warehouse located in the Bekaa Valley, sending shockwaves of fear and uncertainty throughout the nation. These explosions, attributed to a cache of improperly stored walkie-talkies, further fueled the sense of chaos and vulnerability gripping the country. While the Bekaa Valley explosions resulted in fewer casualties than those in Beirut, their impact was no less significant. The timing of the Bekaa Valley explosions, coming so soon after the Beirut disaster, immediately raised suspicions. The fact that the explosions targeted a Hezbollah facility added another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. The Lebanese government, already struggling to manage the crisis in Beirut, now faced the daunting task of investigating two separate but potentially linked incidents. The explosions in the Bekaa Valley heightened tensions within Lebanon and raised concerns about the potential for further unrest.
Section 6. Hezbollah's accusations, Israel in the crosshairs. In the immediate aftermath of the Bekaa Valley explosions, Hezbollah wasted no time in pointing the finger of blame at its arch-enemy, Israel. Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah, in a televised address, accused Israel of being behind the blasts, vowing retaliation for what he deemed an act of aggression against Lebanon. "We know that Israel is behind this attack," Nasrallah declared, his voice filled with anger and defiance. "They have tried to weaken us, to break our will. But they will fail. We will respond, and our response will be swift and decisive."
These accusations immediately sent shockwaves through the region. Israel, which has a long and contentious history with Hezbollah, denied any involvement in the explosions. However, Hezbollah's accusations, coupled with its history of retaliatory attacks against Israel, raised fears of a potential escalation of violence. The international community urged restraint from all sides, fearing that a tit-for-tat exchange between Hezbollah and Israel would further destabilize the already volatile region. The situation remained on edge, with the potential for miscalculation and further bloodshed looming large.
Section 7. The international response, condemnation and calls for investigation. The international community reacted to the explosions in Lebanon with a mixture of shock, condemnation, and calls for a thorough investigation. World leaders expressed their condolences to the Lebanese people and pledged their support in the aftermath of the tragedies. The United States, France, the United Kingdom, and other countries condemned the explosions and offered assistance to Lebanon. The European Union announced emergency aid packages, while international organizations, including the United Nations and the Red Cross, mobilized their resources to provide humanitarian aid. However, beyond the expressions of sympathy and offers of aid, there were growing calls for a transparent and independent investigation into the causes of the explosions. Many within Lebanon and the international community demanded accountability, questioning how such a disaster could have occurred. The Lebanese government, under intense pressure to provide answers, promised a full investigation. However, skepticism remained high, with many doubting the government's ability to conduct a truly impartial inquiry, given the country's history of corruption and political interference.
Section 8. The chaotic aftermath. A nation in ruins. In the wake of the explosions, Lebanon found itself grappling not only with the immediate human cost, but also with the daunting task of rebuilding shattered infrastructure and restoring a sense of normalcy. The port of Beirut, once a symbol of the city's vibrancy, lay in ruins, its cranes twisted metal skeletons against the skyline. The explosions had dealt a crippling blow to Lebanon's already fragile economy. The port, a vital hub for trade and commerce, was incapacitated, its destruction sending shockwaves throughout the country's economic system. Businesses were destroyed, livelihoods lost, and the flow of essential goods disrupted. The explosions also exacerbated Lebanon's existing social and political crises. The government, already grappling with an economic meltdown, a global pandemic, and widespread protests, faced accusations of negligence and corruption. Public anger mounted as citizens questioned how such a disaster could have occurred under the government's watch.
Section 9. The broader impact. Trust eroded, futures uncertain. The explosions in Lebanon sent shockwaves far beyond the country's borders. They served as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the devastating consequences of conflict and instability. The blasts also raised critical questions about the broader implications for the region and the world. One of the most immediate concerns was the potential for further violence. Hezbollah's accusations against Israel, coupled with its vow to retaliate, raised fears of an escalation of tensions that could engulf the region in a new cycle of conflict. The explosions also highlighted the dangers posed by improperly stored explosives, particularly in conflict zones or countries with weak governance. The tragedies in Lebanon served as a wake-up call, prompting international organizations and governments to reassess security protocols and stockpile management procedures. Furthermore, the explosions underscored the importance of accountability and transparency. The calls for an independent investigation in Lebanon reflected a growing global demand for justice and a rejection of impunity for those responsible for negligence or wrongdoing.
Section 10. Lebanon at a crossroads, the long road to recovery. Lebanon begins the long and arduous process of recovery at a crossroads. The explosions exposed deep-seated problems, corruption, government negligence, and lack of accountability. Yet the resilience of the Lebanese people shines through, determined to rebuild their lives and country. The international community plays a crucial role in supporting Lebanon's recovery. Humanitarian aid is essential, but only the first step. Addressing underlying issues, promoting good governance and transparency is vital. Ultimately, Lebanon's future rests in the hands of its people. Their ability to overcome differences and rebuild will determine Lebanon's strength and unity. The world watches, hoping Lebanon will rise stronger and more resilient.